Hey guys, welcome. Today we're, as usual, back with Mr. Roshan Karyepa. We have to talk a bunch of things, but something that's been doing the rounds of my head. If you know basic marketing, you would know that digital has put us in an age where you can track everything. Ad kaun sa chal raha hai, ad kaun sa nahi chal raha hai, you can know that, and then you can put your money in the things that actually work. But in B2B, as this man says, it doesn't work that way. Despite things being digital, everything being digital, his marketing being digital, he doesn't like to track stuff and he possibly cannot track stuff, and he has very elaborate thoughts on that. Why do you spend most of your money on things that are not trackable?
I'm not saying that tracking stuff is not important. Of course, it is important, but I don't think you should overly index everything towards that, right? See, we're living in a world where I think you have to write a paper and put hensproof to really make a point about something, right? I mean, if something is obviously or implicitly true, people don't take it at face value somehow. I've always believed that marketing is a net positive. तुम अगर नीचे जाके if you wave a pamphlet around also, there will be a positive to it, right? It's just a question of time and effort versus ROI.
Correct.
That's it, right? And to these things, you have to be directionally right. Setting yourself up for outcomes, are you setting yourself up for ROI, right? You don't have to, what digital has done is, it's skewed us entirely towards, okay, where is my last dollar going, right?
Correct.
How much am I able to squeeze out of that last dollar? The thing is that everything need not be attributed, everything need not be tracked to the last degree, right? It doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that, right? Suppose, you and I met, right? And I spoke about Vimo to you, and then you happen to know someone, right? And, that person is a potential prospect for me, right? How are you going to attribute a tag or track any of this stuff, right? See, a lot of marketing is also about creating serendipity.
Are you saying, as marketers, as a marketing leader yourself, when you make all these plans, it's a unspoken agreement between you and the CFO and the CEO, okay, boss, this is to show you that I know my shit and I'm worth betting on, or my team's worth betting on, or my efforts, my direction is worth betting on?
See, you also have to earn their trust, right? And see, trust is a very important thing when for any functional leader, right? Because that last 30 or 40% you cannot prove it, and you should not spend time on that trying to prove that also.
Correct.
Right? All of my projections and spreadsheets and everything, in fact, right? They need to be approximately right. My outcome is not the spreadsheet. My outcome is opportunities or revenue. So you need to have an idea of your customer acquisition cost, right? You need to have an idea of like what kind of people are there, right? If you're going to an event specifically, and you need to maximize your probability. But this is a probabilistic thing. It's not a deterministic thing. It's not a 0 or a 1. It's a percentage.
I'll just simplify it. Basically, it's about the same thing that you apply to life. Plan kitna bhi kar lo, reality will be different, but you can't ditch planning, because failing to plan is planning to fail. The guys who are watching this, wo kare to kare kya? Like, how do they approach marketing? Should they not get too lost in the jargon ke, 10 tools सीखने हैं if I want to get started on my career? Should they play it intuitively? Intuitively खेलें तो कुछ framework है?
Intuition develops based on data, right? Based on experience.
Correct.
Right? So you may have intuition about something once you spend 10, 15
Correct.
years, approximately in the domain, whatever it is, right?
Actually, people are doing greater things much younger.
I'm not talking
our man here has 15 years of experience.
I'm not talking about prodigious talents like, I'm talking about, average Joes like myself, right? We need to spend about 10 years trying to figure things out, But see, intuition is not some God-given thing, right? It is to an extent, but then it can be developed. And you look at, like how a batsman perhaps, knows when to leave a ball and when to play against it, right? And those are things that you develop. It comes from, whatever they say, right? 10,000 hours of doing something, etc. So if you are just about getting into marketing, if you're a young guy, then learn everything about everything. Learn all the tools, learn all the campaigns and the channels, and talk to 1,000 people, read everything there is about something. It's not going to hurt, right? Because what you're doing is you're building a mental map, right? And tomorrow, with experience, you will be able to navigate these various places, right? So I think that is what I would say. Just learn up everything about everything.
These kids get lost in learning they get lost in analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
So what is the best
Great
way
stuff.
to learn? Is it to read blogs or?
No. It's a. See, I always say learn by doing, right? So I'll give you a small instance. For instance, now I'm trying to focus on employer branding. It's one of those marketing buzzwords again. But net, what you're trying to do is trying to attract the best and the brightest people to work for you,
Acha.
right? And to create that sort of an ethos and a culture that people want to work at Waymo, right? Want to work at your place. So in this market, I think brand and culture is the differentiator.
Correct.
Right? It's not money, because money has become
You want to
commoditized.
give more context what's happening in this market?
Well, I mean, the market is hot, right? I mean, you've seen, $10+ billion of funding come in just in Q3. And so, I mean, every other startup is, offering 50%. They're even doubling your pay and whatnot, right? If you're even half good. And that's a fool's errand. I mean, that's never a moat that you have to build. Moat is basically a competitive sort of a differentiator, right? That's never a moat you should aspire for. You should always aspire for a culture of quality that differentiates itself, right? So today, money, salary, ESOPs, all of that is table stakes, right? If you talk to 9 out of 10 startups, I mean, 9 out of 10 startups will be offering all of those things, right? So you have to assume that those are par for the course, those are given. So what else do you have to do, I mean, and the key thing is, I think, to build a culture that people aspire for, right? That people feel like they want to work there, right? They want to be a part of that, and so on. I mean, there are multiple companies that are doing fantastic job on this. Razorpay, for instance, right? If you're a product guy, it's an aspiration for you to get into Razorpay, right? And perhaps Stripe internationally,
Right.
Testing, quality assurance and testing, I mean, is something which conventionally people think is very boring, process-oriented, methodical, ज़्यादा innovation नहीं होता है. But then every testing person or a QA person in India will look forward to Mulya.
Okay.
Right? Because Mulya has built that sort of a brand around a love and a joy for testing, right? And if you talk to the founder, I mean, that brand is led by that founder, right? Pradeep Soundararajan. So that becomes a differentiator, right? So that is what I mean by employer branding.
So what you're trying to tell me is employer branding जब करते हैं, you are talking about the culture, you're talking about various elements of messaging that would potentially attract a hire, but you can't really link it to a successful hire. So that's an example of something that can't be tracked.
See, I'm only saying it's difficult to draw a straight line between one thing that you did and one thing that happened, right? Because a lot of things have multiple touch points these days, man. Whether it's you're marketing a product, you're marketing a company in the case of employer branding, right? You can always have markers, right? Saying that, are you able to close positions? Is the time required to close these positions coming down? Is the cost going down? All of these will tell you that you are directionally right, that whatever you're doing over a period of time has worked for you, right? But you can't, get hung up on the, specifics of like, every dollar, this video I put out, I mean, here is a spreadsheet I can make which will say that, I mean, so many people saw it and they came to it and whatever.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. It's not very straightforward. Life itself is not as straightforward.
Okay, fantastic. That's a beautiful example.